Hi.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, Owen.
Hey, wait.
Great to
Do you see
see
me
you.
now? Hi.
There you are.
Made it. How many's coming supposedly to the meeting? I put this on Facebook, so I'm hoping Regina sees it. Maybe she'll be here.
Well, I think we have about 10 or 11 folks right now. We're going to get started in 1 minute.
Okay. Do you need me to go on mute or?
I think that would be good.
Okay.
And anybody else, if you could just make sure you're muted, you're welcome to keep your videos on, whatever you're comfortable with. Please know that we are recording today.
With internet and TV that costs more and does less. Set yourself free with
I think someone is still muted. There we go.
internet with enough speed for all at once with speeds of 100 megabits.
Here, maybe a television or commercial. There we go. I think it's off now. So welcome everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. We are recording today and I will share the recording with you all. So if you miss any portion of this, you can certainly revisit today if you have to take a bathroom break or anything else. Welcome. My name is Megan Feitz and I am the Director of Programs for Art Possible Ohio. We are the statewide service organization for arts and disability. And you're part of a program today called Careers in the Arts, where we provide professional development trainings to artists all across Ohio. And we're so glad you're here today. I am a white woman with chin length curly hair. I'm wearing pink glasses. I have pink earbuds in, the wires trailing out of my ears, and I'm wearing a blue and green striped sweater. Behind me is a green lamp, a white wall, a blanket folded over the back of my couch, and lots of pictures on the wall beside me made by my 3-year-old son, Wesley. We're so pleased to have you here for getting your art seen. Whoops. I got muted. There we go. We're so glad you're here today for the presentation, Getting Your Art Seen. If you need captions today, simply go to the bottom of your screen and enable the little CC button, which is live captioning, and the caption should appear at the bottom of your screen. You are able to move those around. If you need to, you just click on them with your finger or the mouse and move them to the best place for you to view them. Additionally, Lynette is keeping it casual today. Lynette is our presenter. And so if you have questions, you're welcome to type them into the chat box. Molly and I will monitor them. Or you can raise your hand and we will do our best to call on you as needed. You're also more than welcome to save questions for the end of the presentation. Sorry, my son just woke from a nap. If you hear him in the background there. I think that's kind of all I have for today. I'm going to turn this over to Molly, who is the Executive Director for Art Possible Ohio. Take it away, Molly.
Thank you, Megan. My name is Molly Kearney. I am a white woman in my late 30s with shoulder length brown curly hair. I'm wearing a pink blouse and my background is blurred. I also have white earbuds in. We are very excited to have all of you here today. Our special guest, I have known for kind of my whole career. Lynette Santoro-Au has been a part of my arts experience for a very long time. She has held lots of positions around the greater Columbus area, a lot of them in the world of marketing and getting artists seen and heard. She will give herself a more full introduction. I do want to let everyone know we are going to do our best today to do visual description as Megan and I have done for our images. So we will also try to keep up with that on slides for people who may have low vision or might be blind who have joined us
There's
today.
no slides today. No slides today.
Perfect. Even better. All right, so I'm going to kick it over to Lynette.
Thank you so much. I wanted to be sure to unmute myself. Wonderful to have so many people with us today. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate you. My name is Lynette Santoro-Au, and I'm the gallery director here at ROY G BIV Gallery for emerging artists. I am a white woman. I'm 56. I'm happy to say that. No worries. I have black glasses. My hair is purple, and I'm wearing this month Might be different next month. And I'm wearing a gray and white patterned jacket. My background is our ROY G BIV logo, but I've blurred our background to just make it a little bit easier for you to concentrate on what I'm saying. As Molly alluded, we have known each other a very long time. That is wonderful. Megan and I recently met each other, and that is a wonderful addition to my art family. I've been working in the arts since about 1984 when I was in college, to be truthful. I volunteered with an art programming board at school and started working on art programming and creating opportunities for creatives at school. And I had this aha moment, as hopefully many of you have had as well, or will have, where you just figured out that this is what you want to do. And when I figured out that that's what I wanted to do and someone would pay me to do it, I was off and running. So I'm very excited to do the work that I do, creating opportunities for creatives. Most recently, I worked at the City of Upper Arlington for many years, creating art programming there. And recently I returned to nonprofit work here at ROY G BIV Gallery. Our gallery has been around since 1989, and we have been in the short north for many years, 30 years. We recently moved to Franklinton in 2019 and opened a new space here. We like it very much in Franklinton. It's a great space for us because we work with emerging artists, and this is an emerging creative neighborhood. And so we like it here very much. Nothing against the short north where we came from, but we really like it here in Franklinton. So we're glad to be a part of things. We like Franklinton because it's an all boats rise kind of place, which means that everybody is here to collaborate with everybody else and to help elevate art and artists. And that is very much in keeping with ROY's mission. So brief information about ROY. We, as I said, have started in 1989. It began with a few friends of art students who wanted to create a space for their friends to exhibit their artwork. In those days, you maybe exhibited your work a little bit at college, but there were no real galleries that worked with emerging artists. Galleries worked with professional artists. And so this group decided that they would create their own gallery space so that their friends would have a space to show their work. And so we've carried on that tradition since then. ROY is also a juried space, which means that emerging artists apply to exhibit here at ROY, and we convene a jury to review those applications every year and then slate our exhibitions for a year at a time. So we know all the artists who are going to be exhibiting here in 2022. And in June of this year, we will be sending out our call for entries for 2023. Because we exhibit the work of emerging artists, we are not a collecting agency, so we don't own any work. We also do not represent any artists. So all the artists here, each month, there's a new group of artists that exhibit at ROY, and they are free to exhibit their work at other places as well. Sometimes when you're an artist and you're represented by a gallery, you're confined to exhibiting only in that space. Here at ROY, we don't have any regulations regarding that because we don't represent any artists. So we define emerging artists as those who are early in their careers, have a focused direction and goals, even while still developing their artistic voice, have yet to be substantially celebrated within their field, the media, funding circles, or the public at large, and are not yet represented by a gallery. So if you see yourself in those criteria, you are welcome to apply for exhibition at ROY. We do not differentiate between age or ability or school or any of those things. It's just the criteria that I mentioned. And those things are on our website also. I'm sure that you are maybe taking notes while we're having this discussion, and that is fine, but I will also make these notes available in a follow-up email. So if you are finding, oh, I didn't catch that, no worries. Sometimes I talk very fast, so let me know if I need to slow down, and I can, but those notes will be available for you after the discussion as well. And we do have a call for entries that we send out and a mailing list about that. And so that will be information that you'll get in the notes too, how it is that you can get your name on that mailing list. So The exhibits then are created from this juried process, and then we put together a curatorial team. And the curatorial team actually takes those lists of artists who the scores mean that they're going to be invited to show their work, and then puts those exhibitions together. So for instance, we might have an exhibition that has the artwork of 3 different artists or 4 different artists, or I think in one case this year, 5 different artists. But we're looking for things that put those artists together, some kind of theme or aesthetic or some kind of narrative that means that all of those artists our curatorial committee feels would show well together in the gallery. And then we work with the artists to exhibit their work, to hang their work, to install their work, to display their work, to light their work, to market their work, to price their work. We believe in merit over profit at ROY. So that means that we are not necessarily looking for art that is quote unquote sellable. We are looking for artists to have the ability to explore their voice and find their own way through their creative voice. So we're not looking necessarily for you to have work for sale. In fact, many of our exhibits have work that is not for sale. But the idea is that the emerging artists can explore their own voice and find their own creativity. When we sell artwork here, we take 35% of the sales, and the artist retains 65% of the sales. And that means that artists then, as emerging artists, can do more with their money. That is different in other galleries. Many galleries are a 60-40 split or maybe a 50-50 split. And the money that we retain, we invest back in the gallery for supporting other emerging artists. But I mentioned that just so you understand the difference between our gallery and other galleries, but also when you're an artist, you're thinking about what the price of your work will be. And many times the commission that a gallery takes from the artist factors into the pricing of your work. So we are a nonprofit gallery, and that means that we raise the money to keep our doors open and the lights on, which means that the artists don't have to do that. So artists here should not be worried about selling their work or not selling their work or what the price is. We're going to raise the money for that. And we do that with some very generous funders: Ohio Arts Council, Greater Columbus Arts Council, the Columbus Foundation, Encova Foundation, Casto, the Crane Group. These are all great supporters of us here at ROY. ROY is also a member-based organization. So as an artist member, you have certain rights and privileges here at ROY. Being able to have your work juried, but also take advantage of things that we offer, like educational programming, critiques, workshops that we offer. Those are all things that members can take advantage of. Some of our members also took advantage of having a gallery director tour in the gallery. They've also taken advantage of renting the space for events and things like that. So unlike other galleries that are for-profit galleries, ROY just functions a little bit differently than they do. So all that to say, those are all the different things that ROY offers. So we also have, in addition to our juried space, which we call a ROY Presents space. So we'll say in our advertising and in our signage, ROY Presents and the artist name. We have other spaces called ROY Shares and Roylets at the gallery that we've carved out for artists to be able to exhibit their work. So let's say you came to ROY and you didn't jury, but you have some work that's very interesting that we want to exhibit. We might put your work in our ROY Share space, and that is a little area off to the side of the gallery where we can install work for a month. It's very flexible. In fact, it's programmed at the discretion of the gallery director, me. We also have bathrooms called Roylets. We like to say ROY for everything. So ROY Talks, Roylets, ROY Hosts, ROY Markets. It's like ROY is a person. And so anyway, we have these bathrooms that artists have taken over and transformed the space which is a lot of fun for some artists to be able to do. So all those are other opportunities. We like to say yes more than we say no. And as we know, it's not always possible. So whenever we can find a way to include art in something, we always try to do that. So some tips and things for you to think about in terms of your art and as you're creating it, just some things that we have learned over the years that I am happy to share with you. So as you're creating your work, you should be documenting it. You should be taking pictures of it. You should be recording it. You should be saying that you created this certain piece at this certain time, and you're charging this price for it, and it is made up of these materials, and you should have a picture of it. And if you don't like to do those things, which we certainly understand artists do not like to do those things, find somebody who does that you can partner with. You could trade art with them, or you could pay them. Maybe you want to create something for them and they want to give you this opportunity. So we highly recommend you're creating those records as you are creating artwork. It's very difficult to do that annually. Think of all the work that you've created all year long, and then you're going to spend a day or a week on documenting it. That will be an awful lot to do. So when you apply for a gallery exhibition, you should think about the kind of artwork that you create and where that artwork could be. So you have to do some research. And again, if you don't like to do the research, find somebody who does and trade something for it. ColumbusMakesArt.com is a really wonderful place to start. It is a very complete list of all the galleries in the Columbus area. I'm not sure if people on the call are all in the Columbus area. If not, you might think about statewide, or perhaps where you are, there might be a city directory of galleries or creative spaces. In the Cleveland area, CAN is a wonderful publication. It's put on by artists, about artists, and there's lots of listings of opportunities there as well. So find the list of galleries, research a little bit on those galleries and what it is that they do and what their process is in order for exhibition. Many times art galleries will list that on their website. So you'll want to find out what kind of work do they exhibit. Is it work by artists who have degrees in art, or artists who are self-taught? Is it artists who work in ceramics or paintings? Is it artists who work in photography? So that you can find the space that would best serve your art. Not all galleries show all work. For instance, here in Columbus, Sherry Gallery is a wonderful place. They show a lot of ceramics and jewelry, some paintings. If you look at Lindsay Gallery, for instance, the gallery is a space for outsider artists, artists who do not have any formal training whatsoever. Artists that exhibit at Fresh Air Gallery are artists who are in recovery. So finding your space that coincides with your art is very important. And also the way that you present your work for people in galleries to see your work. For instance, at ROY, as I mentioned, we have a juried exhibition. So when I get an email from an artist and they say, I saw your gallery online and I'd like for you to review my portfolio to get a solo show, I know that they have not learned anything about ROY. They've done no research whatsoever. They've just sent me this blanket email, and that maybe they don't have a connection with ROY at all. Maybe they're not even an emerging artist. So then I send them our criteria for exhibition. But it makes a better impression if you know a little bit more about the gallery before you approach them. Some galleries want to review your portfolio. So you will have to have printed images of your work or a laptop that you will take with you in order to share the work that you create. Some want an in-person appointment in these days of COVID, maybe not. Maybe a Zoom appointment is what they'll want to do, and you'll have to share your portfolio and your work online. Some galleries have a form on their website that you fill out. Other galleries, like what we do, ask for a call for entries or proposals. So do some research a little bit first and make sure that the art that you create fits the gallery and its mission, and then present the work for consideration in the way that the gallery prefers it. It makes a much better impression, that's for sure. I'll pause a moment if anyone has any questions that they want to ask.
There are a few in the chat.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
This one I think is specifically for Roy. And then it says, do you ever accept jewelry artists?
Jewelry artists?
Mhm.
That's interesting. You know what? We really haven't had in my time here, jewelry artists. I would love that. Not the least of which because I probably do a lot of shopping, but we really don't have a mechanism for that. So we would want to work with the artist specifically on how the work would be shown. For instance, we have pedestals, but we don't have vitrines. So we don't have covers for our pedestals. We have little acrylic stands, but we don't have like necklace forms or bracelet forms. So the artist would have to supply that. But I wouldn't say no to a jeweler who wanted to apply to Roy. Great question.
Very cool. And then I believe this is specific for Roy as well. And Owen, I see your hand raised too, so we'll get to you.
Oh, okay, thanks.
How does an emerging artist become a member of ROY G BIV?
Could not be easier. We have information about that on our website, literally on a tab, membership.
Yay!
And so you can just click on that for information. There's various levels, various ways to pay for it. And our membership is a year. So in other words, if you are becoming a member in this month, February, your membership would expire next February. It's not a calendar year. So I know some places are like that where it's January to December only. That's not true. We are a year. So yeah.
Perfect. Owen, do you want to ask yours?
Yes, I have a question about, okay, I've been starting to work on digital artwork. And what do you usually say about submissions from people who do like digital artwork, like on Procreate, and not so much print artwork, but just digital?
Yeah, I love that question. Here's why. We have an exhibition that is nothing but lens-based art. So photography, new media, digital, film, video. It is called Image Ohio. You do not have to be from Ohio, and the work does not have to be about Ohio. I think we might need to change that name. But in any case, it's called Image Ohio. And this year it'll be in October, and we are going to be sending out a call for entries for that in June. And we're doing our Image Ohio in conjunction with Photo Focus, which is a lens-based organization in Cincinnati. And every 2 years they have a biennial, and they wanted to have satellite places in Columbus who would also show lens-based work during October. So we've partnered with the Wexner Center, CCAD, the museum, All People's Gallery, and we're all going to be showing lens-based work at that time. And I mention that because those might be other institutions that you could apply for shows as well. I'm not sure what their process is, but make sure that you share your email with me so that you can get information about that call for entries. We will also post that, as we do for everything, on our social media, on our website. We always post these opportunities at Greater Columbus Arts Council. I know earlier I mentioned columbusmakesart.com. Can't say enough great things about that site. GCAC also has a space on their website for upcoming opportunities. And we always post that information there, but we'll definitely get your email so that we can send you information about applying. Thank you, Owen, for that question.
Welcome.
A new question. Someone says, do you accept international artists to exhibit? And they admit they have not yet checked your website. So
that's a good question. It's okay. We do accept work from international. Yes, exactly. In fact, in Image Ohio, we had some artists from Mexico and from Germany and the Netherlands. So yeah. It's so easy to ship a thumb drive internationally. In fact, you don't even have to do that. You can just email me or Dropbox me, right? So that's a really great way to do it. Okay, so picking up where I left off. What will you need to get your art seen? That is something you absolutely have to know about, and also track where you are applying, which is a whole nother thing. But first, what will we need to see? We will need good quality images of your artwork. That means not with your phone. A nice camera that either you can take or again, trade with a photographer that you know. There are plenty of resources available in Columbus for photographers who will take good high resolution images of your work. JPEGs are preferred by most people, so have them in that format. You also want a list of your works and titles of the images. If you don't title your work, that's fine. Untitled work is fine, but some kind of list that describes the work, its size, maybe the materials that are used in it, so that you can send that along. When we have jurors who are looking at your work, they want to know what are they looking at, right? If you're working in pastel, but it looks like watercolor, there's a difference in the materials that are being used. And so you want your audience to know what it is that you're using to create your artwork. And if you are making art and categorizing your art and recording the art that you're making, it'll be very easy for you to put together those image lists with sizes and materials.
So
And
this
then-
is different than digital, correct? It's just like totally different.
Yeah,
If you have,
for
like,
digital,
painting.
right, because for digital, you probably are going to call your file something, right?
Yeah.
Untitled 1 or Blue Landscape 2 or whatever it is that you're going to call your titles, but you're still going to have a list because when you apply, you're going to send me to your Vimeo, or you're going to send me files that you have, or however it is that you store your images and share your images. You also need a coherent and cohesive artist statement. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be detailed, but it has to be coherent. Like you're having a conversation with someone and you're talking a little bit about your work. And it should be a combination of the creativity and also the process. So in other words, I might write about my inspiration comes from everyday scenes in the woods near my house, but I'm also going to be talking about the materials I use to create the art. I don't necessarily need to know that your glazes fire at cone 7, but I do need some kind of process. Every day I'm in the gallery or I'm in the studio creating artwork. I like to begin with raw materials. I make my own glazes. That's something exciting to know about. I don't need to know that you hand pulled your prints out of the printer necessarily. But you might want to talk about how it is that you're framing things with, archival paper and, hand framing or custom framing or whatever. But it should be a combination of things. How do you do what you do? Why do you do what you do? That kind of thing. And get somebody to proofread it for you. Grammatical errors and misspellings in your artist statement do not create a very good impression. We wonder, oh, if you're sending me this with lots of errors on it, are you going to show up on time with your work? Is your work going to be of good quality? Are you going to do what you say you're going to do? So anytime that you can create a good first impression, take advantage of that opportunity. You also will need a resume or a CV or some kind of bio. So for instance, if you haven't gone to school for art, then a resume or a CV will not exist for you, but a bio would be helpful. Where you live, where you create, what influences you have, what experiences you've had, if you've had other shows in other spaces, that kind of thing would be helpful to know. And so all those things can be written up that would accompany your images and your image list. And most places, when you apply, if you take the gallery track, they'll definitely ask for that. If you take a festival track, they will definitely ask for that. And so having those materials ready that you frequently update, because if you had a show last month, it should be on your curriculum vitae or your bio or your resume next month, right? So keep updating it as you go along so that it's the most accurate reflection of what it is that you are doing and what you've been involved with. So some ideas about, more things in the chat, questions to answer. Good, okay. So here's some ideas for not only how do you get your artwork seen by galleries or by festivals or whatever, but how do you maybe get your art seen by other artists? Networking is key, right? How do you know that what you're doing and the choices you're making when you're creating your art are showing it to its best advantage or are the right choices for you? You may have some ideas about that, but how does that translate to the viewer? So you might want to have networking with other artists where you talk about the choices that you're making or the ideas that you have, or maybe what piece you would like to work on next, or what goal you have for yourself. Networking is very good. Online, there are some local organizations and groups that you might think about exploring and asking permission to join. Artists of 614 is an organization, an organized group, not an organization, sorry, an organized group on Facebook. And as the name implies, it's from artists from the 614 area code. And they will often post images of work that they're working on. They'll often get together for critique. They'll often just brag to each other about a show that they have upcoming. And it's always good to see what other artists are doing, because then you know what else is happening in the art world, who else is doing what. There may be some opportunities for you to partner with someone. There may be a technique that that artist does and does well that you would like to learn how to do that technique. And so those are all great things that come out of networking with other artists. Likewise, there are art leagues, Worthington Area Art League, Dublin Area Art League. I think Bexley has an art league. So maybe joining local art leagues where you are is also a good idea. If you like to be with other artists and talk about art, oftentimes they will have professional development conversations. They might demonstrate certain techniques. They'll get together and talk about art, right? And making art, which is a great thing to be learning about. Also, some of these organizations will have partnerships with spaces where their art is exhibited. So that is another way to get your artwork exhibited. Many times these artists will also have, like at the Columbus Arts Festival, there's a big local art, which is a space for local artists to exhibit their work. And I'm not sure how that works because it's not the same kind of jurying process that the festival is, but it is a space where you can exhibit your work. So check into that. Visit galleries and studios like 400 and Chrome Edge in Franklinton. Of course, I'm plugging Franklinton because I love it here, but there are artist studio spaces here at Chrome Edge and at 400. And so those are artists who are working in those spaces every day. But on the second Friday of the month, Franklinton Fridays, their studio spaces are open to visitors. And so you can meet them and talk with them and network with them and see what they're creating and get inspiration from them and also inspire them. And our next Franklinton Fridays is March 11th from 6 till 10 p.m.
Got a question.
Yeah.
Do you know, okay, because it seems like Columbus is booming with a lot of, art work for people with disabilities. Yes. I mean, do you know anything in Cleveland or Northeast Ohio? I mean, all I can think about is the Beck Center, but I'm just wondering, is there any like outlets in Northeast Ohio that you know about that I could probably connect with? Like I said, the only ones I know is like the Beck Center in Lakewood.
Right. I love Cleveland because there are different neighborhoods with different focuses. There are some really wonderful spaces that have been rehabbed into artist studio space. I'm thinking about in Tremont, I think is a middle school. There's a publication there called CAN, C-A-N, and it's an artist network of Cleveland area artists. And they are writing about their own art and other artists' art. And in the magazine is also information about applying to various sites. So I would encourage you to find that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I don't know more about Cleveland, but I don't really know much about that space.
Lynette, I have a question. This is Molly. So as someone who looks at a ton of applications and proposals and submissions, what is the thing that makes you most happy when you get a proposal where you look at it and you're like, this person nailed it? And what is the thing that bums you out the most when you look at a proposal and you're like, ugh, so close? Swinging a miss.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, And I do look at a fair bit. You're exactly right. For us, particularly if it's somebody who's just bringing me a portfolio of work, how some things about like how the work is presented. Is it thoughtfully presented? Is it, printed well? Is the work visible? Is it well done in terms of, there's a thought behind it. There's a consistent voice. There's a really wonderful use of space and line and form that you can tell that the artist is on a path. There's a lot of work where artists are just experimenting and trying things, but they're not authentic, and you can see it as soon as you witness it. So those are things that are kind of frustrating for me. Like, you should be putting your best foot forward. You should be bringing me work that you're ready to exhibit. That is, if you're not bringing it to me physically, you don't have to bring it to me framed or whatever, but it has to be thoughtfully done, thoughtfully executed. It has to be consistent with the other work that you're showing. If you're showing 10 landscapes and they're really wonderfully done in different seasons, and the composition is straight on, and you've got some really wonderful color and line, and then you show me a picture that you've drawn of your cat and it's terrible, that's not helpful. Leave the cat out of it, right? Just show me the landscapes. If you're experimenting with animal portraiture next, and you think that's the next place that your art is going away from where you were before, that's fine. It's great for artists particularly to be changing and evolving and developing their own voice. That's wonderful, but it's maybe just not quite ready to share yet. So I get very excited about artists who bring work that they've obviously spent a lot of time and attention on, that is authentic, that is well thought out, well constructed. Things that have just sort of been put together last minute or is not quite ready for other people to see. That's what critiques are for. That's not what a portfolio review is for. Good question. Some other things that you want to do is, as you're creating your artwork, you might think about posting on social media. Instagram is a great place for that. You might also follow other artists on Instagram. And then, react to the work that they're posting and what they're sharing, and share your own work in those areas also. That's a great way to get noticed. I will say, when you are putting together information to share for a review, either for an exhibition or whatever, if you have a personal Instagram account where you follow famous, I don't know, athletes, artists, musicians, don't give me that as your artist, because I'm going to be looking at that wondering, why am I seeing nothing but pictures of J-Lo when I should be seeing pictures of your artwork, right? So you should have an artist Instagram account and a personal account, and they might be two different things, and that's fine. Share with me the artist account. Don't share with me the account where you're following cats playing piano. That's not gonna help either.
I have a question about that social media. I have heard that even in posting artwork, you have to be very careful of posting images, because you never know, someone might steal an image and claim it's their own. I've heard of stories about that, where artists, they'll put something up, but then someone else will steal it. Is there kind of like a, I don't know, cautionary thing you could talk about that, like when posting, images on social media?
Yeah, sure. You can make your accounts private, and that cuts down on a lot of that, but then it also makes it hard for people to find you. You can watermark your images so that it can't be just taken that way. You could be very selective about the people that you allow to follow you and that you follow back. So all of those things can be done, but you're absolutely right. I'm sure there is a lot of stuff out there that people are taking as their own and sharing it as their own. And it's not, it's reprehensible, but I'm sure that it does happen. You're exactly right. So at ROY, we also offer critique. So every other month, artists come together to the space, and it's on the third Thursday of the month. So it's in the odd months. So that would be January, March, May, etc. And it's a $5 donation. There's a local artist who runs the critique group. You sign up for it ahead of time on our website or through our website. But it's a place where you can bring your work and get some feedback on it. You might be thinking about, is this a good choice that I made? Is this something that looks like it might be ready to show other people? Is this something that I could exhibit? Or you might just be thinking about going in a different direction, and getting some feedback from your peers, other creators, is really helpful, we find. It helps to talk through what you're working on and what your next steps might be, and getting the support of other creators who understand what you're going through is of value. So we offer that as well. Okay, so I am at the end of the list of things that I wanted to be sure to share with you. And I am happy to answer questions that you have. I know we've been doing it sort of as we've been going along, but if you have other questions, now is the time.
I wanted to just reinforce your suggestion to reach out to the CAN journal or the organization, because when I was recruiting for our current Accessible Expressions Ohio exhibition, I was able to go through some old articles that they post and things just on Access, and find some groups to market to. So, and I think if you even just reached out to them directly, they might be able to point you in a few directions. But, we believe, and I know Lynette does, that all galleries and museums should be featuring artists with disabilities. So I think and encourage you to reach out to the galleries you enjoy that you think would be a good fit for your art, and say, hey, here I am, and I want to exhibit with you. And this is what I've learned from your website, or what I've gathered based on what I can access. Let's talk and see how we can move forward together.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So wonderful publication. I particularly like that it's by artists for artists. We've been talking a lot at our Columbus Arts Marketing Association. That's a group of arts marketers that meets every other month to talk about best practices and get professional development. And so I advocate for, finding your tribe, the people who do the same things that you do, and spend time with them and learn from them also. So at CAMA, we've been talking about that also. How can we get more accessibility in the arts, more diversity and inclusion in the arts? How can we get more publicity for the arts? So those are things that we work on all the time.
So you're saying to try to get involved with more galleries that are local, to have like an interest. I mean, I know a couple people, like I know this lady named Joanne DePaulo. She taught painting, and I was, she was teaching me painting, and I got involved with her gallery. I mean, somebody like that, would be considered networking. I mean, just, trying to find the right galleries. And I know the Beck Center, I mentioned them too, because they, I work with Ed Gallagher too,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
and we have, I'm sorry. We have tours here sometimes. Open Studio artists come here for tours. Goodwill Studio artists come to ROY for tours. Sometimes they come here just to get inspiration and see what other artists are working on. We'll often have really wonderful discussions about the composition of a painting, the artist's intention behind the artwork. We'll have some really wonderful discussions about materials and what artists are using to create work. And then those are lessons that those artists can take back to their own studio practice and talk a little further about. But it's always wonderful to see what other people are working on, and to, network and get feedback on your own work. Absolutely. How would you learn and grow if you didn't get that kind of feedback? Exactly.
At your gallery in particular, what is your definition of an emerging artist?
We say that it's artists that are early in their careers. So that could mean you were working in one career, a dentist, and now you're an artist. That's an emerging. It could be somebody who's in school and now they're leaving school. That could be an emerging. So we just mention it that way, early in their careers. Artists that have a focused direction and goals. So they already know a little bit about what it is that they're creating and how they're creating and what they want to do with that creativity and what they want to make. And so they're already along the path. That's another definition for an emerging artist. We also say that they haven't been substantially celebrated within their field, the media, funding circles, or the public at large. And that really just means that they are not yet well known, that they are probably not having, solo shows in a gallery, that they're not famous yet. They're still emerging, and artists should always be emerging, and artists should always be evolving in their voice and in what they're doing. But that's one of the ways that we define emerging artists. We also say that you're not yet represented by a gallery. And there was some discussion about that recently, actually on Artists of 614. Someone had asked about the definition of emerging and was saying that when they had asked about being exhibited at a gallery, that they were told they couldn't be at an emerging gallery if they were represented by a gallery. Part of that is ROY, because we are saying if you haven't yet been discovered and you're not yet represented, then you are an emerging artist. Part of it is in respect of the gallery. Many times, if a gallery is going to represent you, then they're going to put a lot of time and effort into you and your career. And then if you are exhibiting your work elsewhere, you're usually contractually obligated to not do so. Usually there is some kind of contract that you have with a gallery that represents you that limits the number of places that you are allowed to exhibit your work. So it's a really wonderful thing to have representation, because you know that your work is going to get shown at a particular gallery. It's going to be celebrated there. It's going to be promoted there. It's going to be sold there. But it also does then limit the other places where you can exhibit your art. And that might be by miles. You can't exhibit your art within 50 miles of here, or it might be within a timing. You couldn't exhibit this same body of work within 6 months of this show or whatever. But if the gallery is going to be investing in you and your career, then they need a return on that investment. And they need some assurance from you that you're not going to be exhibiting that work someplace else at the same time.
So you're kind of like working under that particular gallery, right?
Right.
You have a contract with them? Oh,
right.
Okay.
Which is a good thing for artists. As I said, it gives you a place where you know your work's going to be found, you know that they're going to be promoting you know that they're going to be supporting you, but it does limit the other places where you can exhibit your work. I mean, that's understandable. If I'm going to spend a lot of time and effort on you and your work, then I don't want you sharing it with other places that haven't spent that same time and effort in investing in you and your career.
Okay.
Yeah. Other questions?
I have a question.
Mhm.
Yes, I'm looking for a gallery, so I was wondering, how should I make the first contact? Should I contact them through email or through phone call? And what would you recommend?
I would recommend that you research how they like to be contacted. And most galleries will put that on their website. For instance, ROY is a juried space. And so we will send out a call for entry for artists to apply for exhibition here. Some galleries like you to make an appointment with them. Some galleries want to see your portfolio. Some galleries want to do a little research first about you and your work, and they want you to send them some images and a link to your website or your social media so that they can see your work. Many galleries will want to be making sure that the work that you create fits with their mission or the way that they do business or the kind of artwork that they represent. What kind of work do you create?
Paintings.
Mm-hmm. And have you been exhibited anywhere, or did you go to school and you have a degree in painting or anything like that?
My background actually is in graphic design.
Okay.
So I was working as a graphic designer, but now I decided to do art.
Uh-huh.
So the second question is, I'm not quite sure if I'm supposed to say that I'm self-taught, because my background is in creative industries.
Yeah, so I don't know that it's so important for you. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think you probably are not considered self-taught because in graphic design, you would have learned about color and line and composition. You would have learned about a lot of elements that would help you create either as in graphic design as is your career, but also some of those same skills you're translating into your painting also. So I don't know that self-taught would be exactly, but you are an emerging artist in terms of, now you're trying painting where before you were in graphic design.
Yeah.
So for Roy, I would say, we're going to be posting our call for entries for 2023 in June of 2022. And we can work that out offline, maybe with a follow-up email or some such. My notes will also include our gallery email address in them. And so connect with us that you want to be on a list to receive information about our call for entries. And we'll make sure to be able to have you on that list.
Great, thank you.
But a good first impression is really important. So make sure that whatever gallery you decide to approach, you approach it the way the gallery wants to be approached.
Okay, and how do I know that the gallery is that it fits my needs and there's a good chemical connection?
Yeah, I think, a lot of things can be done on a gallery's website before you even step foot in the gallery. You'll find their mission, you'll find information about past artists that have exhibited there. You might Google them really and just see if they've ever been recognized or an article has been written about them, because what they might be saying they do on their website might be different than what they have been reported to do, for instance, and then visit the gallery if that's possible for you to do, because you get a good feel for the place and the people working in it and their mission by actually being there. It's a relationship. And that's kind of difficult sometimes because it requires a lot of time and attention. It's not immediate as many things are, but it's important to establish a relationship with the gallery because hopefully you'll have that relationship with them for a long time. Even though at ROY, you're an emerging artist probably once, right? After that, you're not really an emerging artist. You can't exhibit here again, but we do still maintain a relationship with you. Maybe you exhibit here in our member show. There's an annual member show. And so as a member, you automatically can have a piece of artwork in it, regardless of whether or not you got an exhibition during the year, and regardless of how many years you've been a ROY member. We have artists who have exhibited in that particular show for 15 years. And it's wonderful to see how their work has changed over the years. So you're really creating a relationship with the gallery.
Okay, and last question, how should I deal with rejections?
Oh, I know. Here's the thing about being a creative and in the art world, you get told no more than you get told yes. And it is not easy to deal with rejection at all. At ROY, we had 185 artists who applied for exhibition for 2022. We invited 39 artists. So that means a lot more people got told no than got told yes. And we offer juror notes. And so if you're an artist, you might ask for those. If it's a jury, you would ask for feedback or for juror notes. And that way you can be told why it is that your work was not invited. So it's a scale for us of, points, right? And so maybe the cutoff was 4.0 and your work scored 3.8. Well, that's just a matter of somebody else doing the same work that you did it just a little bit better, but it doesn't mean 3.8 isn't very far from 4.0. Your career over 0.2 points, right? 0.2 of a point. Don't do that. Learn from it somehow. Maybe it wasn't presented well. Maybe your images were blurry. Maybe they had a confusing time reading your artist statement. There are things that you can tweak and change to improve that, but ask for feedback. And it's a lot easier to ask for feedback and receive it and learn from it than just get very discouraged because you got told no. I'm sorry, it's not easy to ask for feedback, but do it because you want to find out and learn and grow as an artist. And that's the only way that you can.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. And we have one more question, and I think it'll be our last question, and then
Okay.
we'll wrap up. So there's one more in the chat. It says, do you recommend building your online presence, such as a website, before reaching out to a gallery?
Yes, because a gallery wants to see the depth and breadth of what it is that you do. And meanwhile, it's also very good for you to have a website with your information that you can get in front of a lot of different people. It's very easy to say to someone, oh, check out my website, here's a link to it, as opposed to lugging around a portfolio. Also, if you have a website, you can do e-commerce, you can sell your own work and you don't have to give a percentage to anybody. So yes, I would definitely encourage you to develop an online presence. Some artists sell right off of Instagram. You don't even need a website necessarily, and the cumbersome platform of a website as opposed to something that's quick and easy like an Instagram, but definitely an online presence, absolutely.
Thank you. These were all wonderful questions.
Yeah, very good.
And Lynette, that was a wonderful presentation. I think you covered so many different aspects of what artists consider, what galleries are looking for, especially nonprofit emerging galleries like yours, which is so valuable in the arts community. So I want to thank you for all the time and effort that went into your presentation today. And I want to thank everybody who attended today. We're excited to see some of you, some of we know, and there's some new people here too. Always excited to grow art network whenever we can. So if you don't mind, I'm going to just promote a few programs that we offer here that are in relationship to this specific program. Tomorrow we are beginning to stream a film called The Special as part of our Real Abilities Film Festival, Columbus. And this particular film is from Venezuela, and it's about a young man with Down syndrome and his journey into his first art exhibition. So I think a lot of people who are in this particular workshop, as well as anybody, would really enjoy this film. So I'm going to paste as soon as I'm done talking, I'm going to paste the link to sign up for the festival. It's free into our chat box here. Actually, I'll do it right now. And then just so you all know, Art Possible Ohio hosts an exhibition every year, specifically featuring artists with disabilities. The call for art usually opens in September or early October. If that's something you're interested in, you can follow us on social media at Art Possible Ohio on Instagram and Facebook to look for that call. And then the exhibition opens in March every year at a gallery or a museum and travels around the state following that particular exhibition. So we would love to have new art next year from any of you or some repeat artists like Owen and Sarah who are here today. So please look for that as well. That's where I'm going to conclude today. Again, thank you everybody for attending.
Oh, wait, I got a quick question.
Okay.
Is there another Zoom meeting coming up? It has to do with the applying for the ADAP
Yes.
application.
Yes.
When is that?
Yes, on Thursday. I can find that really quick. There is an app at 4 o'clock. Gosh, Molly, isn't it 4?
I believe so. It's with the Ohio Arts Council.
Yeah.
Thank you, Owen. That's actually a really good one to plug for this particular group. So Ohio Arts Council, if you're not aware, for artists living in Ohio who have disabilities or who self-identify as having a disability, they offer $500 and $1,000 project grants. And so Megan and I are going to be doing a webinar with the Ohio Arts Council. I saw that Megan just dropped the registration link in the chat box. If you can't attend, we are recording that and it's going to live on our website pretty much forever. So we're going to go over. What time does it start? What time does it start? I believe it starts at 4.
Okay.
Yeah, 4 p.m. Eastern time. And it's about an hour. So it'll go from 4 to 5. But like I said, we're going to record it. So if you missed something, you can always go back and rewatch certain sections of it. But we're going to go deep into the nitty gritty of how the Ohio Arts Council grant system works, and then some really solid tips similar to this presentation on how to put together a really good grant application and a really professional grant application.
Right.
So please join us for that. I'm pretty excited about that one.
Thank you, Molly. Yeah, and I did drop the links for the film and
Thank
the
you.
webinar into, but and you can email me if you want me to send them to you that way.
Okay,
Um,
thanks.
Yeah, thank you again, everybody. I'm going to let us all go.
Mhm.
So you're welcome to exit whenever you wish. And I hope you all have a lovely Tuesday. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.